Hey, good morning, church. Hope you're doing well. We had a nice little rain here. Got some water there on the ground. Hey, just a question for you this morning. How's your perspective of things? You might say, well, Chris, it's a little early. I'm still trying to develop my perspective of things, and I understand that. We this last week, I know, have just had a lot of things as we're starting to move into spring just come about, and we're just trying to figure out how to manage things as best as we know how. And I'm realizing in the midst of that how important perspective is, as we've been just working on certain things within our home, on our land. We had one day where one of my kiddos was we just kind of looked over, and Kayla noticed that he was kind of sulking about something, and so went over and said, what's going on, buddy? He said, I'm just really sad. Well, why are you sad? Well, I don't have this game. It was just this game. And it literally changed his countenance so much to the point, because he didn't have this game, he just sulked, and to the point of just like, well, I'm sad. I don't know that that I'm going to be able to do the things that I want. And like it just started tumbling so quickly, all because he didn't have this one game. And so, as parents, you wrestle with, the easy thing to do would be, well, let's get him the game, and then he'll feel happy and he'll feel loved. But the reality is, we know that's not really going to solve the issue, and so there's opportunity that we solve, just sharing with him and saying, buddy, it's not about the things we don't have. It's really just a matter of perspective. And when you're looking for things that you don't have, it starts to convince you that things are bad, and really everything is bad, all starting because this one thing you don't have. And so he was like, okay. And as he kind of came back to life, came back to reality, he started to lift his countenance again. And so, I was honestly thinking about that, and we think, oh yeah, kids are like that. And I was, I'm like that too. A lot of times you realize how much your perspective actually affects things. And I'm realizing more and more that your perspective is really affected by what you're looking for. And what I mean by that is, just like with him, if I'm looking at the things that I don't have, and I feel like, honestly, the only way I'm gonna be able to be happy is if I have this thing. Well, if I don't have it, then I'm not happy. Or, it can be the same way when we're going through trials in life. If we have a struggle in a relationship and it's just not going the way we think it should, or we feel like somebody's not treating us well, we can completely tank in that, and it can cause us to really just not thrive in our lives, all because one or two things are going wrong. And in that, we'll be looking for all the things that are deficient, all the things that aren't going well. And Jesus addresses this in John chapter 16. He gives really what I would consider to be a promise, which is, in this world you'll face trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. And you think, wow, that's a good statement, Jesus. Jesus has found a way to overcome the world, but what does that mean for me? Well, it means everything for me. What it means is that, really there's an assurance that in this world trouble exists. There are going to be things in this life that you do not have, or I do not have. There are going to be situations in this life that we do not feel are ideal. We're going to have discomfort. We're going to have obstacles. We're going to have struggles. Those things are going to exist. And so the reality is, we don't necessarily need to fight in trying to get rid of those things, or even pretend like they're not there. However, the solution is in what Jesus says, which he says, I've overcome these things. And what that means is, Jesus has He's overcome sin. He's overcome death. He's overcome injustice in the world. He's overcome hate. He has overcome all of these things, both in his life and in his death and resurrection. The aspect of his death and resurrection means I now get to trust upon him as I walk out my life in recognizing that these things in the end can be overcome. And so my perspective can change in this life as I look at his life and say, okay, I see how he overcame these things. These things did not impact him to the point where he lost hope, to the point where he lost direction, to the point where he questioned his life, you know? I think that's an important thing, and recognizing the power of perspective and how it really changes our lives, you know? So I come back to this, you know, our perspective really depends upon what we're looking for. Are you looking at areas in which you don't have? Are you looking at areas in which you are not thriving in aspects of life, financially, relationally, in regard to your job, family, you know, things of that sort? Are you looking in areas where you don't have, and then applying that perspective to every part of your life? Don't do that. As you take inventory of your life, if you're going through something of a hardship, if you're going through something in which you feel like you don't have, ask yourself to have the right perspective. What's good here? What do I have? Just like we told our little boy, look at the things you do have. Look at the things we get to encounter. Look at the things we get to engage with. And I'm telling you what, it will legitimately change your perspective in the same way Jesus calls us to remember, hey, he's overcome this world. Just because trouble exists, just because struggle exists, just because I encounter things that are uncomfortable or challenging, doesn't mean they can't be overcome. All right? So I pray you're encouraged by that. Ask yourself where your perspective lies, and if need be, seek to change it. The Lord gives us promises in order that we may change our perspective and keep it set on the things that we need to keep it set on, all right? We root ourselves in his word. We read it daily. We seek him in prayer. We remember he's with us. And that is enough even just to change your perspective in a moment. So set your eyes on the prize and be encouraged. I love you, church, and I pray that you have a blessed week.